Welcome to Room to Spill the Tea. I am Sarah. This episode we're going to discuss the role of history and also the history of disability. And to my right, this is Otis.
Otis, yeah. Yeah.
Tom?
Just say hi.
Jane.
Roger.
Karen. Julie.
Jack.
Lisa, do you want to say hi? Perfect.
Cool. So, should we start off with what we all think history is? What is history?
Stories from the past.
Hmm?
Well, the present, yeah.
Other people's perceptions of what happened in the past.
Yeah. What do you think, Karen?
History is what happened in past, but also like when we wasn't around. So yeah.
Yeah. What about heritage? Is that different from history? Karen?
Heritage is, I don't really know what it's all about, but I guess it's a little bit the same about, a little bit the same about history. Yeah, it's heritage is where we come from.
Yeah.
That's quite
Yeah,
nice.
that's-
I
yeah,
think
that's
that's
good,
what I think heritage is.
Yeah.
So maybe like history is the event, and then maybe heritage is the impact.
Is that the same as legacy?
Where you come from.
Legacy.
Yeah.
I know that's sort of what you give. You know, heritage is before, isn't it? But legacy is what you give either next generations or communities. So, you know, you wouldn't necessarily have children to leave a legacy, would you? You could leave a legacy in your general community. Is that right? I don't know.
Yeah, that's
think
what I
that's right.
think. I think that heritage is about
What other people gave you.
what happened in the past and how that
Yeah.
shapes who and what we are today. What
Yeah.
we bring with us because of what happened before.
So I suppose when we talk about so someone said about like, what's your heritage? What's our heritage?
I think
What
of
would you
like
say?
of being, you know, English and Welsh.
Right?
Nationality. When I think of heritage, I think of nationality
Yeah.
or what you were born into.
Yeah.
How about you, Jack? Jack. Is someone talking about like have you ever heard like what's your? Has anyone ever asked like what's your heritage? What do you think you would say?
My birthright or heritage?
What do you mean?
Good question.
What do you mean by birthright?
Heritage. My family. Like, I'm trying to think. Heritage, like my family legacy, or
Well, it could be anything, Jack, you know.
That's what you said just now, Sarah, wasn't it? Legacy.
Like your family legacy.
yeah.
But does it have to be a family legacy though, or can it be where you are? Like say, like for me instance, I'm nowhere near my family now, so I know there are things I've probably brought with me from my family. But currently now I'm looking at the heritage of what's around me rather than my family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ever thought, like
Yeah.
you wanted to say something?
So, something about family legacies.
Mm.
I have loads of family, yeah. I don't know much about legacies. I did, suppose moving from one place to another, it could be like a legacy of something, because I was born in London and I was moved down here, so maybe that's part of what we can talk about. I don't know, maybe that could be in a podcast of what I used to do in different places. So like, I don't know, London down here, who's could be part of what going to school and stuff. I don't know, that might not fit to the podcast, but where I used to live before I came down here, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. That's kind of part of your personal history, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, heritage and personal history might not fit into that. I don't know.
It's a part of it, it is.
Yeah.
So you think at what point does someone say this may be my heritage, but this is not my future?
Yeah.
Well, that's a good question. So one of the things we were going to say was like, do we think history is kind of important? I don't know, did you have anything to say before you go on to that bit?
I think personal history is one bit. I think it's worth thinking about all the other types of history that shape who we are. So one of the ones I'm always acutely aware of is a woman. As a woman, is the history that led to the point where I got to vote.
Nice.
You know, that's heritage. An awful lot of women put themselves at huge risk so that I had the right to vote, and that matters a lot to me.
Yeah, that's true. So that's like beyond your obviously personal family, isn't it? It's not it's not your family. It's
but it shapes who I am today, and it shapes the choices that I have.
I suppose it's like a wider group that you're part of. If you know what I mean. Is that one way of seeing it or not?
Yeah, I think there's geographical stuff, isn't there? So like Otis saying when he lived in London, and then I think there's that kind of heritage that you have. And then there's other bits, aren't there, depending on all sorts of things. You know, did the world wars change the society we have today? Yes, enormously, in all kinds of ways.
A lot of people didn't stay here, did they?
I think from a psychology point of view, it depends what you actually identify with as well, I think.
And it depends a lot what you're told.
Yes, of
Because
course,
what's
too.
taught in schools, you know, what you're told is important in terms of your rights and your choices today. You know, sometimes I hear things or I read things and I think, wow, didn't know that.
Yeah.
Does that shape the world I live in today and the choices I get? Yes.
I suppose that was kind of we did have that as a question, wasn't it? As saying, thinking like, is history still important to us? Is knowing about those things important?
It depends how far back you go, because even 10 years ago is still history, isn't it? And things have changed
Yesterday's
even.
history.
Yeah, exactly.
A minute ago.
Yeah, it's like.
Well, do I think yesterday's history? Why? Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, go on.
I was thinking about family trees. That's quite interesting, isn't it, about your heritage?
Yeah, that's exactly what we were saying, Roger, about the Archers thing. That's history, wasn't it, Roger? Like the heritage of people, you know.
Yes, because we were talking before about
The Archers.
the history of archers as that's a programme and looking at the different people within that. But obviously that's part of a like a fictional story, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I suppose that would
Everyone has their own
It's still-
family tree,
Yeah.
though, don't they?
Yeah.
I guess that you get some sort of link to like different cultural
Cultures,
things,
yeah.
depending on
Yeah.
where your family came from.
Accents and
Yeah.
Yeah.
like you've got a Welsh accent, haven't you? Because you're from Wales, so part
I try and
Welsh.
hide it, but yeah.
Oh,
You
wow.
should be proud because that's where
Yeah.
you came from.
Yeah.
Because you were saying it depends how far back you go. What do you mean? So like,
Well, I'm
does
just
that mean
saying.
that you
Well, even in the 10 years, like the history. Oh, I'm not good at answering questions on
Oh,
the
no,
spot.
no.
I can't remember what you just said.
Oh no,
Yeah.
because I think you were saying is
Like we're
is
going to go back
history
100
important?
years to see what because I no
Right.
doubt this is a crude, like a loose estimation, but like generally people that were disabled went into the workhouses, didn't they? If they were disabled, or they go to the
Yeah.
Right.
asylums. I'm just using the terminology. I'm not trying to offend people by that terminology.
Yeah.
But now, are they still technically in workhouses because of how they're treated at times? You know.
That's a good question.
Yeah, it is a good question. Yeah. I think that you get people who treat disabled people really wrongly, personally, because they don't they see you as a disabled person, and that if they assume you got a hearing impairment, and they assume this, but the other is not true. Like yesterday, I went to the doctors and I was booking myself into an appointment, and the receptionist saw I was disabled, and immediately talked to me like a 3-year-old as if I was dead.
Right.
Yeah.
People do that. I don't know why. They just.
So
think
you did
that's
that to you as
stupid.
well, too?
No. I just. There are people that do. Yeah. But I don't think they. People just don't realise what. Down vision impaired, do they? So some people are stupid and don't realise what's going on.
Did you challenge it, Taryn? Did you
Um,
say anything?
No, but both me and my support worker was fuming about it, and she said that my support worker said that when you talk to your mom later, I would mention it, and I mentioned it, and mom's going to write a letter to the practice manager, because I don't think I should be spoken to in that manner.
I don't know why people do that. I don't know. Just get what they want.
I think it's because as well, because people are taught, even in school, if someone's different, they need to be treated completely different. I mean, there is, I think, ways of treating people, no matter who, whatever differences people have, you know, it's still good to adapt to who you're talking to. But, I mean, in talking about history, even in the time of the school that I was in, they did have a special class where people that, you know, had certain labels were in. And I think that was the first, it actually changed, people were like integrated back into normal classes, and then you think, you always end up, not intentionally, but you do end up looking at people differently. You think, well why, you know? But it's because, you know, because the system is, these people are different, we need to treat them differently, and then it kind of escalates then into society.
That makes me think, do you think that history has an effect on the way people in general view disability? Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
I think so.
Definitely, definitely, because I think if people were well trained before the situations, if they were well trained, they wouldn't do those things.
No, not.
So what do you mean well trained?
I'm trained in the fact that people have courses on it and the stuff like that. Yeah.
I mean, even now, like, people are, you know, are becoming more likely to be diagnosed with it. I mean, the people that have ADHD or autism can be more likely to be diagnosed than they were years ago. But then people are saying, nowadays ADHD's all over the place, and, you know, it's just another fad, it's just another thing that people want to jump on. So you just think, well, don't agree with that anyway, but
Yeah.
And also, it's a label, isn't it?
yeah.
Yeah.
You're labelled, aren't you, if you've got disability?
Yeah.
And
Because
it's-
autism
yeah.
is so broad.
Yeah.
You can't just be autistic because
Yeah.
there's so many different spectrums.
Yeah. And I mean, the spectrum's kind of, in the past, it used to be, talk about history now, but in the past,
Yeah.
autism would be, oh, you either got mild autism or you're severe, but it's not now. Like, they've
Yeah.
kind of realised that that was actually quite a ableist way of terming it, because, you know, where someone might, you know, excel in one way, they won't in
Yeah.
another, and sometimes you won't get the support because people might, like for myself, I have the autistic label, I'm quite good at chatting with people, so people might think, oh, not wrong with you, you're just mildly autistic or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
And I just think, I just don't, I lose my train of thought sometimes. I think it's,
Yeah, that's, well, I suppose that's why we always, so for Turning Tides, we always look at like trying to use the social model lens of things. So we use like the terms of labels and things.
yeah,
But also, I suppose there's the medical side of it where it, sometimes understanding bits of like how your brain works or whatever is useful if
yes.
for you to just understand you as a person. But like I say, once it becomes a label that other people see.
Yeah.
Yeah, because and
And maybe-
also they never seem to see, for instance, with
Your
ADHD,
assumptions.
there's a lot
Right.
of,
Yeah.
I was just saying ADHD
Yeah, go on.
on its own, there's a lot of positives of ADHD, you know, where when I'm hyper-focused, you know, I can get a lot of things done, but people don't, you know, they might be seeing, oh look, you're really hyper-focused on writing that book, but you haven't done your dishes, you know, why haven't you done your dishes,
Yeah.
you know, and stuff like that, you know, but yeah, and again, I think what was interesting, what Jane was saying was, you know, I'm just using the two genders right now, not as a, but you know, where the gender divides with, you know, it tended to be more likely to be boys that are diagnosed with autism or ADHD than girls. And you just wonder if that, again, that's probably another umbrella of different identities that, you know, because society, again, if two boys are fighting, it's probably, oh, they're just being boys, you know?
Yeah.
Whereas if a girl and a boy started fighting, it'd be like, oh no, he's attacking her, he should be attacking her.
Right, so is that like perception from like
No.
outside? Is that like what people perceive? So they have like an action
Yeah.
or something,
Yeah.
and
But I
other
ju-
people bring
yeah.
things to.
Well, that's what I
to
mean,
how
that's
they view
another,
it.
and
Yeah.
a lot of feminists being other patriarchy and all that about.
Yeah.
But that's another story for another day.
Yeah.
What do we know about like the history of disabled people?
Well, as I was saying earlier, I mean, again,
don't
I
know.
say it's 100 years, but I don't know what the actual time frame was. But in the
Yeah.
past, they used to be sent to workhouses or asylums.
Yeah.
That's assuming they were diagnosed. Otherwise, I mean, even it. I mean, I know I'm 27, but just add another 3 years to it.
We can imagine that you were once.
Yeah, well, in a past.
Yeah.
I mean, even the terminology that was used, like my dad actually worked in a hospital with people that had learning disabilities, and I'm not going to use the language they used. But in a time, they used to use completely different language they used now. If you call people the stuff you called people then, and that's just 27 plus years ago.
Yeah.
So even in this time, that's what I mean. That's when they say about history. It's like, well, how far back do you want to go? Because it's like even in.
Oh. I think it's an interesting thing about the language as well, isn't it, and how that has changed.
Yeah, but you
But
know, in
there's things-
America, they still use certain terminology. That if you used it here, you'd be like, whoa, because I've seen it. I'm like, you're like, wait a minute, I thought you're not supposed to use that language no more. And they're like, well, actually, here we can.
Yeah. Because would we ever feel comfortable saying that? Not like in your everyday speech, but it's like when you're referring to historical.
Well, I mean, I can't even say it because I just think it, it's
Yeah.
not a very nice language. But even, right, when I went to the comedy night for my birthday, it was my birthday, 27. But there was a person there that, I think he had one leg and one leg wasn't, like, And even then, he was calling everyone able, you know, he was like talking about the audience, and so everyone was able-bodied and he wasn't, and I'm like,
Yeah.
how does he know we're all able-bodied?
Oh, I see. He's still making assumptions. Yeah.
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 Oh yes, and it looks
So-
like you was a cow.
So I suppose, yeah. So in terms of like, if we learn more about like the history, or something, do you think that would have a positive effect if like more people were aware of
Yeah,
some of the things that have happened or some of the changes that have happened previously?
definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely, because if you like got to like a hidden disability sort of called because you must I don't know what the word is, but you must appear everybody
Yeah.
but that doesn't mean to say you haven't got anything going on inside.
Right. Right. So is it just? Yeah.
Yeah.
Judge a book by its cover.
No.
No.
Yeah, but then we're kind of taught to. I mean, again, that would be another umbrella to talk about. Again, it's like
Yeah.
even how teachers treat children. If children are better looking, not intentionally, it's that sort of
Yeah.
psychological thing of like we all treat. You know, if you go back to the evolutionary psychology and stuff. You know, that sort of survival of the fittest.
Right.
That psychology of us. I don't mean people should think that.
No.
I'm just saying from
Yeah.
a psychology point
Yeah.
of view, that evolutionary would be, you want to train the people that are doing well as opposed to the people that aren't doing well.
Yeah. That's true. But I suppose that sort of also defines what you mean by doing well, right? That has
Yeah,
been-
of course. I mean, I'm not suggesting that's how they should do it. I'm just saying that.
But that's still like all part of it, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I'm sure there's one point in history where people thought doing well was
Oh yes,
I don't know, what, just having enough food or something,
Mm.
or like having loads of children. Maybe
Yeah.
that was like the doing well, and maybe like just getting by and doing well is something
Whereas,
else.
whereas
You're making loads of
nowadays,
money.
doing well seems to be being totally independent, not needing nobody. And if
Yeah.
you need somebody, you're needy. How dare you need somebody?
Yeah.
You know? Whereas years ago, if you were, someone that was a wife to just stay at home for a husband, that was not even frowned upon at all. If anything, it'd probably be the other way around. I
Yeah.
think the issue with history as well, though, is that, because someone once told me, there's almost this myth that women didn't go out to work, that women didn't study, that women didn't do all this stuff, but then,
Yeah.
there's sort of that, that's why it's quite good to look at almost the hidden history if you can find it, because again, I know it's hidden, but I just meant on the dark, well, not even dark, but just some people will write, dark, yeah. It's just some people will write about the hidden history that, other people don't.
Well, it sort of brings on, because we did think about another thing we we're going to ask about was who generally tells the histories
Yeah.
and what impact does that have, do we think, on it?
Well, it's the
So
winner,
like I say,
innit?
it's the winner,
Well,
isn't it?
Yeah, but no, even if you look at eyewitness testimony, everyone's going to see something in a different way. So also it depends how it depends who's writing the history
Yeah.
and who's asking the history. Because
Yeah.
something that is shown in eyewitness testimony, if you ask certain words to a participant, they're more likely to respond in a certain way.
Yeah.
So if you were saying how fast was the car going when it crashed, or something, they might be more likely to say, "Oh, it was going fast." So they're going to give a
Yeah.
more
Bias?
biased,
Maybe.
yeah.
Or just a different. But it's kind of what you're saying, like with the hidden history stuff. Because I'm guessing part of not knowing the
I mean,
stories
there
is
must
that-
be, there must be stuff there, especially with the internet nowadays.
Yeah. But maybe it's just that it wasn't as widely distributed.
It's all slow,
because
the internet.
at the time, I suppose,
It's hot.
women were not
Yeah.
in a powerful positions. Or
Yeah.
because you said, you know, the winner tells the history, but maybe it's the person who's, or the people that are
Yeah.
in power.
Some
Yeah.
people couldn't read, could they?
There's also that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So actually
Yeah.
physically like documenting
Yeah.
Yeah.
personal accounts or
Yeah.
things couldn't
Couldn't read or
couldn't
write.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
Which is true.
Probably need
And
to
also,
like
you
sort
just
of
wonder if it'd be also the sort of people that had more money because they'd have the money to write that stuff or to tell
Yeah.
somebody.
Yeah. So it could be a social like class thing as well.
Yeah.
Or about like
Yeah.
working class history.
I think if you were in the like the top class, you would have the money to be able to get the children to learn to read and write.
Yeah. That's true. I suppose if reading and writing as well were the only forms of
Yeah.
communication or of like noting down the history,
Yeah.
then if you couldn't read or write, then you're probably less likely to be able to, what do I mean? Store, write down, tell
Yeah.
people in the future about your history
Yeah.
because you couldn't write it down.
Yeah.
A record of it.
Keep a record.
Yeah.
That's it.
But I was saying, when I did the deaf awareness course, they were talking about, you know, the deaf history and how years ago they'd literally have to get, they would do it so people would, certain people, I don't know who the name was by the way, but they were like quite against people using sign language and things like that, so you get them to like literally try and talk or...
Oh. That's quite sense. I was wondering if the same thing could be said of maybe like disability history.
Yeah.
History of disabled people.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's still under the same umbrella, isn't it? Deaf
Yeah.
awareness.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, yeah, sorry, yes. But I was just thinking in terms of like the ways that things have been recorded. So like how many stories do you think we will know or will have known about, you know?
Yeah.
Like who would be the people making the notes of
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
Do you think who would be the people?
Well, yeah, because they say with anyone who volunteers with a you know, charity, you know, a study, any sort of study, they're people that are willing to volunteer. You know, you can't
Yeah.
force it,
Yeah.
force things up. What you
Yeah.
could do, but it would be good.
But I suppose like, even let's say we went back like 100, 200 years ago, who would be any information we had about like disabled people in the UK? Who do you think would have written that or made a note of it?
You just wonder if it would have been
It's a
like
bit
disabled people themselves, or
What
Did
do
you have
think?
something, Taryn?
Yeah, sorry.
no, it's okay.
Sorry.
I think the government might have taken notes on the Disability Act. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe doctors
Yeah.
and people
Yeah.
who worked
What's that?
in asylums or
Yeah.
hospitals
All over
who
there.
made notes maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. What were you
Yeah.
going to say, Otis? Who do you think would have written down the histories of like disabled people 2 years ago?
Not the
Like
politicians, no way.
not politicians.
Just get rid of all of them. And
Oh,
have
sorry.
something- Have
Where's
Yeah.
this come from? That's a bit of a brown there.
Yeah.
I don't know who would write
I'm
it.
sorry. I
Not
said.
sure.
No, so-
Okay.
no.
That's the
We're getting towards the end of our like usual running time, so has anyone
Yeah.
got any final thoughts they'd like to say?
I think in the future, I think we could have better communication with disabled people are concerned. Better knowledge of people with disabilities, so people in the future would have to come up against barriers.
That's a great place to end. Thank you, Taryn.
That's
All right,
all.
goodbye.
Goodbye. Yeah.
Right.
Bye.
Goodbye, everybody.